what kind of challenges do you think Nostr faces in terms of adoption and scaling? Because we're talking about these private relays, and now anyone can run a relay, and there's all these relays out there, and you can just move to each one. Um, are there any issues with scaling? Like, is there a limitation to Nostr? Is there a limitation to the amount of relays you can have? Is there a limitation to the amount of relays you can join or like be part of?
That's a that's a good question because we've just went through like a period of like like a hefty amount of spam hit the network, and that was what pushed people over to the paid relays basically. So the core issue, which is now being solved, I think, is that like you can publish your events to any relay that you choose, right? But then I can only see them if I'm listening to those relays. So like what relays should I be listening to and what relays should you be publishing to? And that's actually the thing. Like right now there are around like there's over 1,000 relays. You can't publish to 1,000 relays. I mean, just technically speaking, like a browser or a client-side app, like you can't open 1,000 WebSocket connections and then publish to them all with everything you do. And then you also can't do that in reverse and subscribe to them all. And even if you could, that would just be like, I mean, I don't see how that would cause so many other problems. So like, that's not a scale. That's not a viable. There'll be no point in Nostr if that was the only way. So the problem has been like, how do you know what relays to use? Which basically means, how do I know what relays the people who I want to follow, how do I know what relays they are using? So there's this new Nostr improvement possibility. They're called NIPS, which is like a Bitcoin improvement protocol, the BIP process, but for Nostr. And there's one that's NIP 57, which is like really interesting. This is how we solve this problem, and a lot of clients are now implementing this. So basically, like you publish your list of relays, and I need to get that list from somewhere. But once I have it, I know where to follow you. I know which relays to follow you on. And you can update that list whenever. Like if some relay blacklists you or something cool, like you add some more relays to it or whatever, change your relays around. Or maybe you just run your own relay, your own personal relay in the cloud, and that's the only one you publish to. And so if I want to follow you, that's where I get your events from. So like these kind of, the architecture right now is being figured out in real time through a process of being like attacked, basically. Like the network gets attacked with spam or whatever, and then people figure out a way to deal with it, and then we come up with like these solutions like NIP 57. It's really become like a living system or an anti-fragile system at this point. I think this is why I think it's like game over for all these other systems, all these other social network systems. Well, that's one of the reasons anyway. The other reason is, so you touched on this a little bit before with what you just mentioned, but like, do you remember MySpace?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So like, they basically were unaware of the fact that no matter what social media platform you're using, at the end of the day, the community owns that platform, not the actual company behind it. And as soon as they forget that, they get wiped out. And that's what happened with MySpace. And that's how Facebook got them. And now Facebook and Twitter, they've forgotten that. But Nostr will never forget that because they never controlled anything to start with. The user has controlled it from the beginning. So all the development is driven from the user side. So that lesson is baked into Nostr, which is why And that's the first time I've seen that in this type of system, in this type of like social media system, like Mastodon and all these other things. Like they haven't, that's not baked into those systems at all. So like they can always fall prey to like a relay operator getting a bit like political or whatever and banning people. It's like, well, but you don't own. That's just like they've forgotten the lesson that they don't own the community. The community owns them.